Hi friends, it's Becky and I want to share the Honey and Spice Curated Bead Box. This is the bead subscription box for October 2025 from Curated Bead Box. It is a selection of mostly glass beads in a round shape, but multiple different sizes and finishes. They usually also have some findings, and it always comes with a finding starter kit as well. It is an inexpensive bead box, and it is a really great bead box if you are stash building or if you're just getting started, because the findings kit means that you can get started creating jewelry right away without having to invest in other findings. So let's get this open and then get it organized. I like to organize this bead box in my 18 grit organizer because I can lay down this section here and have a spot for the finding starter kit and some of the larger like pendants and things that you usually find in this specific bead box. You can just take out those sections and have that space. And then we also have some deeper wells than I usually do with my 15 grid organizer, so I can fit longer strands with some bigger beads in it in here. Whereas with the other one I would usually have to open up two sections, so it actually fit much better in this 18 grid organizer. And I'll put a link to those organizers in the description if you'd like to check it out. Alright, so we've got our bead box here, and we've got a listing right here on the box that tells you what we've got in here. It does say, however, that bead sizes and types may vary, so it might be like, it might say I have an 8mm, but if they ran out of that, they might have substituted with like a 6mm or something like that. So, all right, these are definitely some fall colors. I love this version of the yellow and cream. It is like buttered popcorn. That's what it makes me think of every single time I see this bead. That is a, oh, and this one looks like creamsicles to me, or peaches and cream. That is a lot of fun. And you know what, honestly, I think I'm getting the urge to do some earrings after we do this. I'm going to use these. They are super cute for some earrings. So stick around to the end. Let's get all of these out of here. And we'll take a look at the beads up close, get them sorted. Before we start sorting them though, let's take a look at the Finding Starter Kit. Because again, this makes it possible for you to, if you don't have any other beading things, all you need are some tools. And basic beading tools, like, you really very rarely need more than maybe some flush cutters for cutting your wire, a chain nose plier for bending things and opening and closing jump rings, and then a round nose plier for making loops. If you have these three, that is a really good start. You can, if you don't have a crimper, you can use your chain nose plier to crimp beads. They're not as secure as beads that are crimped with a crimper, but it is definitely still possible to do that with just those three tools if you wanted a good, this is a starting point if you are new to beading. So in the Finding Starter Kit, you have some beading wire, you have some head pins, some ear wires, some jump rings. These are about 6mm jump rings. You have some lobster clasps. You have some crimp beads. There's some stretch cord, and there's some memory wire. And I will warn you though that if you use the memory wire, you're going to want some memory wire cutters, because memory wire will absolutely dull the blades on your regular wire cutters. 100%. All right, I am just lining these guys up so we can get a look. They're very, like, this isn't the kind of color palette that I normally gravitate towards, but because it is so like fall flavor, I am really feeling it. And especially this bead mix. This bead mix is just full of really great fall colors. I love that they added a little bit of silver and gray into this to get kind of a cooler neutral in here, because while we do have some metals that are gold, we've also got our silver bees. So that's kind of fun that we've got that sort of two-tone, multiple mixed metal kind of a look going on here. So let's start with our 12mm fire polish beads. These are orange marble style glass beads. This is an 8-inch strand. Let's get a little bit closer. And this is the one that I was saying, it makes me think of creamsicles when I was looking at it. So you can see these are some larger beads, these 12mm beads, and that strand fits perfectly in that section. And we've got another 12mm strand, and these are my popcorn kernel colored beads. They are yellow marble style glass, and it is an 8-inch strand for this one as well. They're just bright and sunshiny. I think that is my favorite part about this specific yellow of a bead on there. All right, then we've got 10mm beads. These are red and yellow duo style, and these look like strawberry and lemon sorbets. Strawberry lemonade. Love those. This is a 6-inch strand. Again, 10mm beads. Yellow and bright red. And then we've got some 8mm yellow swirl marble style glass beads. And these yellow swirls have a gray swirl in there. So these kind of make me think of, you know, hard-boiled egg yolks. do you guys see it? Am I wrong? You know, when they get like that, the gray outside sometimes. But this is a very generous 16-inch strand for these 8mm beads. There are so many of them. I've almost got that full. All right, next for our 8mm beads, we have orange swirl. So we've got some gray swirls in here, gray and white. And this is a 10-inch strand. And then we've got some 6mm Dalmatian style, or Dalmatian Jasper style glass beads. So it is not a gemstone, it is a glass bead, but they've colored it and coated it to make it look a little bit like some Dalmatian Jasper. So you've got that white opaque glass with the gray swirls in it. Again, these are 6mm, and this is a 16-inch strand. That is a lot of beads. This is a really great box for building up a bead stash, because you get a lot of really consistent bead sizes and shapes across different shipments. And then you just get some great colors that go with them too. And then we've got some red marble style glass beads. And this is a bright, bright red. It's very cranberry kind of a red. And this is also 6 millimeters and 16-inch strand. It is a very long strand. I'm going to snip it halfway just to make it unstring a little bit faster. And of course I'm losing all control, as you do when you're playing with beads. Nothing new here for me. But so far we've got quite a few beads. All right, now we're going to get into some of our bead mixes. We've got the Honeycomb Designer Glass Bead Mix. And I think which one is the Honeycomb Bead Mix and which is the Spices Designer Bead Mix? Well, either one looks like they're fun. So we'll go with this one first. Take a look at these beads. It looks like we've got some matched pairs for a lot of these, like these red with a black swirl beads. And then we've got a little extra one. These are two 10 millimeter and one 8 millimeter. And then we've got the dark crackle brown, like root beer. And that's another 10 millimeter with some two 8 millimeter that are more of a crackle amber color. Then we've got some 10 millimeter crackle glass orange beads, and there's 3 of those. One 10 millimeter that is the same color as these 8 millimeter beads that came on that strand. I'm actually going to go stick this guy right in there with those so that they can hang out together and be part of a little family. Then we've got like a blue and orange swirl 10 millimeter bead and 2 kind of grayish blue crackle glass beads, again 10 millimeters in size. Let's get these guys in here. And then these are going to be some seed beads. It's like they're about 6/0 size seed beads. Well, let's just spill some of these out. I'm not going to sort these into different colors. Probably going to end up using them very much like a bead mix for things. But we've got a matte silver color. We've got some luster gray. We've got some matte brown or bronze. We've got some dark like burgundy red. We've got bright red. We've got clear and opaque. There's clear and opaque orange. Actually, there's about 3 different colors of orange in here. There's a light peachy color. There's maybe a tan color. There's some crystal with, it looks like a peach lining. There's some yellow beads, and with the yellow we've got some luster finish opaque, as well as some clear yellow as well. This is quite a mix. It is very, very festively fall. I love that. Absolutely love it. Oh, wow. So let's get this scooped up and back in here. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to put together for my earrings, but I imagine I might grab some of these beads for that design because I am going to definitely use those honeycomb things. We're going to make some quick honeycomb earrings after I'm done with this. I am going to actually, you know what, these are big beads. I can go ahead and stick them in here. I've got a scoop. There we go. I'll make it a little easier to get them out of here. All right, then we've got some 6 millimeter gold round stardust beads. There are 35 of them in here, and they are very lightweight. These stardust beads, they make fantastic little spacers. But I love that stardust texture on these beads. It's pretty fantastic. And then we've got some 8mm honeybee spacers. There are 14 of these in here. They are antique silver colorway. And then these are our honeycomb gold metal charms. There are 2 of them. They are 20mm in size. And it looks like we've got a resin on the inside rather than glass for these honeycomb shapes. They are double-sided, so you can have them be mirrored to each other when you use them. All right, let's take a look at all of these together in the box. It's definitely fall flavors. Honey and Spice Curated Bead Box. And let me think about how I want some earrings to go. I think honestly, these are going to be such a great color of beads to go with my honeycomb. Yeah, either these ones or no, maybe these. No, that's too red. Yeah, no, these crackle glass beads here. All right, should we grab one of these? Maybe. And then it's 2 orange. That's about the right color. I'm just picking out a couple of these like amber colored seed beads from in here. That's too yellow. In this bead mix, there we go. Let's see, there we go. We've got basically everything that we need for these earrings. Let's grab 2 more of these. I've just decided that is what we're doing. These are going to be easy earrings. Now, if you've got a eye pin, it's going to be a little bit easier for you. If you don't have an eye pin, you can definitely make your own using some wire. And I'll show you how with this. I'm going to use some 18 gauge wire. And I'm just straightening this out with my fingers. You can use a set of nylon jaw pliers. I have some, but I very rarely use them. And then some round nose pliers. I've got my flush cutters for cutting my wire. And some chain nose pliers. So round nose pliers, I'm going to take the flush cut end, grasp it in my round nose pliers. I'm about 1/4 of the way down the barrel from the smaller end towards the larger end. With this just kind of nestled in between here, I'm going to turn. I find it easier to turn away from me. You may find it easier to turn it towards you. But once that is turned all the way so that it meets the other side, I like to rotate this down so it just hits that right below that and give it a little twist back to center my loop so it's not, you know, pointing in one direction. And that makes a loop there. I'm going to measure, just kind of guesstimate. That's about 3 inches down from there. And this is an eye pin, so if you have an eye pin already, you don't have to do that first loop. You can find eye pins with other findings and things. Fortunately, they don't include eye pins in the bead box. That's okay. As you can see, you can either make your own or buy some. Okay. So once you have a loop on one end, you can start stacking your beads. I'm going to start with that seed bead, one of these stardust beads, this crackle glass, stardust, and crackle glass. And I'm going to look at the way I want my loops to go. I'm going to want that loop to go this way, and then I'm going to want the loop on top to go the opposite direction. So if I'm looking at this, if I can see the circle instead of a line, then I can hold all of this steady and either use my fingers to push this back over the top, or some chain nose pliers to give it a little bend right there. I always measure with my finger from here, from where I'm holding the beads. That gives me about 1 centimeter. You can also use a measuring tool to measure that 1 centimeter. Snip off your excess, and then use your round nose pliers to roll that sucker up. So I did the bend after I made my loop, the first loop, and then for the second one I made my bend before I do my loop. And I want to make sure that this is perpendicular. So I want to make sure that this is crisscross. It makes an X when I'm holding both of my loops. All right. And I'm going to take one of these loops and take my chain nose plier and just twist this to the side to open it up. Attach my charm to that end. And then for this end, I'm going to grab those ear wires. Came in here. And you can either use this loop on the ear wire, or you can open up this loop here and put it through that one. Either way will work. What you don't want to do is open up both loops, because then it just gets awkward trying to close them. Open and close that ear wire, and now I have a honeycomb earring. Let's do the second one real quick. It should go a little bit quicker because I could just stack my beads on. I know what order I want them. Bend. Snip. And roll. It's like the bend and snap for beaders. The bend and snip. Bend, snip, and roll. There we go. Let's make sure these are nice and straight. Okay, excellent. Let's open this sucker up. And let's see, I want this to be mirrored, so that's the way it should be. I love to see a fall themed box with all the colors of color changing these. I think that your wire needs a different one. There we go. Oof. I'll have to work on that. Pay attention to the way you put it in so that the front of the ear wires aligned with the front of the earrings. And there we go. We got some earrings, and we got the rest of these beads to play around with and make some things with. I can definitely see some ideas already taking shape in my head for some of the things that you might do with these. All right, I'm going to put links in the description below to Curated Bead Box. There's also a coupon code that you can use for 35% off of your first bead box. It's a few dollars. Again, it is a very inexpensive bead box, so it's still a decent savings though. And it is definitely worth it if you want to do some stash building, if you're new, or if you just like having some beads sent to you every month that are curated to a theme. Until next time, my friends, happy beading.